But as percent of GDP, it should remain same or should decline. But that is not happening. That is not happening in our country. Borrowing our debt, central debt, not state, central debt, which was around 45% of GDP, it has already increased around 72%. 50-60% exactly, 62% around. Both state and center, it was 72% of GDP in 2-3 years back. Now it is expected to exceed 90% of GDP. America debt is much more than, Japan debt is much more than other countries, but they can sustain because their economy is different from us. Our both central and state GDP should not exceed 65%. So borrowing is not leading to the growth. What happening? The benefits of our debt-induced growth is going to the richer section of the society. When government borrows, it leads to some type of growth. But beneficiary of a richer section of the society, not poorer section of society. Debt-induced growth is benefiting the richer section of the society. Primary deficit means deficit minus fiscal deficit minus interest payment. That shows how much government is spending on the interest payment, interest debt liability, interest payment. That fiscal primary deficit shows. Effective revenue deficit means the portion which leads to portion of a revenue deficit which is expected to lead to creation of asset. When that is subtracted from revenue deficit, this is known as effective revenue deficit. That is a term that we use. The major problem that India has a lower tax GDP, that when your size of cake is not increasing, expenditure will be cut somewhere. When expenditure will increase somewhere, expenditure will cut. Isn't it? So that is why for last many years, no government is able to raise the tax GDP ratio. That was if any government can raise the tax GDP ratio without disinvestment, privatism, then we can appreciate this is a bold government. But what is happening? Richer section of the society are benefited, corporate tax is gone, wealth tax is not imposed, direct tax are not increased, and direct tax as percentage of GDP is declining. That is the most regressive. Direct tax as percentage of GDP should increase. That is not happening. So people are pay indirect tax through GST, through rise in sales and surcharge in the petroleum products, prices rises, inflation rises, every poor people are decimated, their economic standard declines, nobody raises this voice. So this is the aspect of taxation. Now coming to the expenditure side. Unless your size of the cake increases, expenditure will in different aspect will not rise. What is the important thing that before going to the budget, we must know how to evaluate budget. When I will discuss about the expenditure aspect of the budget, we must know how to evaluate budget. That is not discussed by newspapers, not told to the people, because those who rule us, I am not telling any particular party. I am not telling any particular party, but those who rule us, they want to retain power. Whoever rules, it is human instinct, because power enables you opportunity, facilities, benefits. When you have power, people run after. The moment you lose power, nobody will ask you. It is very difficult to make a dent in society by virtue of knowledge. It is very difficult. But power makes overnight makes you much. Your HRD minister, when Smriti Irani was HRD minister, when she was not minister, nobody was asking. She is just like an actress. The moment she became the education HRD minister, she will address the vice chancellor. Our society attaches importance to power position. That is why everybody runs after power, and nobody likes to cultivate culture and garner intellectual knowledge, because society does not honor today. So, whoever rules, they want to retain the power, they want to deceive the people. It is not an easy way to solve the problems. They have pressures, they have to succumb various pressures. They cannot sustain easily, so they want to publicize and they want to present a picture in society that the economy is growing, people are happy. But as intellectual, we also have to tell the truth. That is the difference. Intellectuals are the one published, who are the leaders. A budget, how to evaluate a budget? Whoever finance minister, he or she will allocate. She will have money and spend. If you are made finance minister, automatically resources will be generated. You will have a budget. Your IAS officer will prepare a budget. You have just to tell. You have nothing to do it. So a good finance minister is one who will raise the resources, raise the budget allocation and spend for the poorer section of the society. Budget can be interpreted in two ways. Whether you want to interpret the budget in the pro-people angle or pro-rich or ruling class angle. Today there is a going debate. There was a time all the almost intellectual was making the critical examination of a government policy. It is not all policy of a government. All policies, all budget cannot be bad. There is something good. But what intellectual has how to interpret the budget? That is the most biggest issue today, which is not discussed by intellectual. You are employed here to teach the student. So you are not showing any mercy to anybody because you are paid for this. I am employed in a public sector where I am paid for this. A government is elected to perform, to see the well-being of the society. It is responsibility. A judge has to pronounce verdict. He will not see the good aspect of the criminal. A police has to catch the thief. He will not see the good aspect of criminal. A investigating journalist has to find the mystery, expose the mystery of rulers, powerful people. If he will go on seeing the good aspect of these rulers or of politicians, then he cannot expose. So as a writer, as a columnist, as an economist, one has to expose where government is falling. It is not question who is ruling, which party is ruling. That must be interpreted in pro-people angle. How the poorer section of the society are benefited. Mahatma Gandhi once told that your decision, you take a decision, you decide any planning which is going to the benefit the vulnerable section of the society. But today it is discussed how it is benefiting the rich or corporate section of a society. We have 135 crores people. We have to see the 135 crores people, not 35 crores people. One day you went to the Bali Jatra. In the same day you come to the hospital, SCB Medical College. You saw in the Bali Jatra how people are enjoying, how people are leading a happy life, hilarious life. You will see that how the life is so rosy. The moment you come to the SCB Medical, you will say how the life is painful, how people are suffering, how people, their patients, attendants are undergoing the excruciating experience of life. And you must have seen in the corona pandemic, everybody is suffering. I have lost my one elder brother and also a nephew in 42 years. Most of them are infected, many have lost their own hair and ears. As a writer, as an intellectual, as an academician, you have to tell where the problems, you have not tell who are leading a happy life. So when we interpret, it is told as a negative passivity. No. This glass is half full and half empty. You will be told that tell the glass half full is the optimism. No. You will tell that this is when you tell that glass is half empty, you will be told as pessimistic. When you tell about the glass is half empty, you tell the vulnerable section of the society. You told the poorer section of the society, deprived, dejected people. Optimistic man believing oneself, believing one potentiality, believing one talent, having depth upon your knowledge, capacity, potentiality, and striving hard. That is the optimism. Pessimism, optimistic is not telling the vulnerable section of the society. Similarly, positive and negative, everything it is told positive and negative. When you point out the failure of a powerful, you are told with a negative personality. No, that is wrong. It is your responsibility. Negative means when you find fault with your friends, your family members, in your relations, that is negative. Personal life, when you personally become negative, analyzing a negative aspect of individual, that is negative. But positive means you think of the society, telling about the masses. So budget should be interpreted in a pro people, pro students, a pro working class, pro vulnerable section, not how it is benefiting Tata, Ambani, Adani or the capitalist. That must be, we must understand. So coming to the budget, what is the nominal budget is expansionary when the budget outlay is matches the nominal GDP. What is the nominal GDP, real GDP? GDP minus inflation is a nominal GDP minus inflation is the real GDP. It is inflation is not measured by consumer price inflation or wholesale price inflation. It is inflation is measured by price deflator. For example, why I am telling, today you have a 1,000 money. But you can purchase today, after 2 years you cannot purchase same thing in 1,000 rupees. You will purchase less. That means value of money declining. That is inflation. Steady and persistent rise in price level when value of money falls. That is known as inflation. So value of rupee is declining every day. In 1951 and 52, when GDP, nominal GDP was 10,122 crore only. In 2022-23, it is estimated 2.58 lakh crores. It will automatically increase. Even inflation will lead to increase. But when inflation is taken into consideration, you derive the real GDP. Total value of goods and services produced during a year expressed in real terms means taking into inflation into account. GDP is not a reflection of the well-being of the society. It is one of the indicator of economy. It is important. It is also important, but it is indicator of the economic activities of a person. When a person drinks, he purchases liquor, GDP is created. When he meets accident and his vehicle is repaired, GDP is created. When he goes to hospital, he spends money, GDP is created. If he dies in cremation, he spends, GDP is created. This is the GDP. When a person marries a maid servant, when the maid servant was given money, GDP was created. But when he marries, he does not pay money to his maid servant, then GDP contracts. GDP does not show how you are happy. GDP does not show how you are suffering. GDP does not show how pain you have. Your mental anguish, happiness, pleasure are not reflected in terms of GDP. Your happiness, prosperity are not reflected in the GDP. GDP is the only indicator of the economic activities which every government wants to popularize because GDP will grow when people will consume more. Indians are more population, India will consume more, so that will be GDP grow. Anyway, what was happened in 2022 and 23? It is assumed that GDP will grow. Nominal GDP will be 11%. Real GDP is expected to 85%. Sometimes now they are telling to 7 to 75%. 11% have assumed nominal GDP. In previous year, 2021 and 22, remember when they have presented a budget, they have told that real GDP will be 11%. Next year, when next year he presented budget in February 1st, in the February 2nd, I had written my article was published in the very next day. I had sent in an article in Samaj. I had questioned that GDP will not be 11%. And they have assumed nominal GDP will be 14% and a real GDP will be 11%. But Now they are telling that it will be 9.2%. If this will be not 9.2%, it will be 8 to 85%. Why I am telling 8 to 85%? Because economic GDP in 2019-20 was 4%. But it is estimated to further decline in revised estimate 3.7%. And in 2020 and 21, GDP contracted by negative. Contraction means became negative 7.3%, but the contraction will be 6.6%. When your base is changes, you evaluate percentage, so automatically GDP will be 8 to 85% in 2021-22. I am not going to that aspect. What is important that in 2022-23, nominal GDP is assumed 11%. So 11 to 11.4% around. Budget size must increase 11%. Then we say it is expansionary. But in previous year, revised estimate, the budget size was 34.7 lakh crores. In this budget, the budget size outlay is 39.4 lakh crores. So there is only 4.6% increase from revised estimate. Nominal GDP is estimated to more than 11%. Real GDP budget size increases 4.6%. The budget does not grow, outlay does not grow in relation to the nominal GDP. That means this is budget is contractional. How do you will interpret? What is most important? The budget size as percentage of GDP is also declining. It was around 2 years back, it is around 17% plus. Now it is around 15%. But when you relate it to other countries, then you see in France it is 62% of GDP. Some countries it is 50%, 40%, 35% of GDP budget size. Our budget size is around 15%. That means you compare other countries, why they are developing, how our country is not developing. I am not developing any ruling class particular which is ruling or who are ruling past. Our system is repressive which does not address to raise the resources. That is it is a continuous process that is further aggravated today. So budget is contractional. It does not address the budget size also. When the size of cake will not increase, how will allocate? Next question is budget is anti-federal. Why budget is anti-federal? Budget does not address the problems of the states. There is always it is taught, it is told. Those whoever rules at center, they told we are giving so much money to states. We are floating so much scheme per state. But where you are getting money? You are generating revenue by taxing the people of the states. Center has no existence without states and union territories. Isn't it? Your body has no existence without your hand, without your brain, either your mind, either right. Center has no existence without the state and union territories. They are collecting tax from the people of the states, but states are spending more than center. So as our federal structure, center has to give share of taxes to states. That you must understand. So that is why Finance Commission decide this. They have to give in granting their as per financial recommendation. Once upon a time, in 2014-15, the allocation of 42%, state share in central fund was 32%. It was increased to 42% immediately. But at that time, some central scheme was reorganized, some scheme was got. But due to cess and surcharge, we must know also, the money resources generated through cess and surcharge does not go to the individual pool where states have share. Most of the money generated cess and surcharge so petroleum products. We do not states have share. That means once upon a time it was 90 lakh crores revenue generated cess and surcharges. It is now 4.4 to 5 lakh crores. Those resources states have no share. So when it was increased 32%, actually state got 35%. Then it declined to 30%. Now in this budget it will be 29%, 29.6%. And the state funds that will get from center has been declined from 6.291% of GDP to 6.5% of GDP. So that is why states are benefited, not are benefited. Next question comes budget. How the budget prescribe? How budget evaluate the problems? Isn't it? When you go to the doctor, how long I can speak? Okay. You will tell if you when you go to a doctor prescribe you medicine by diagnosis. Similarly, when budget is presented, when decisions are taken, it is prescribed by evaluating the problems. But our budget says the problem is supply side, not demand side. But our problem is more demand side, demand compression, less supply disruption. Supply disruption was problem because of corona pandemic. There was a government movement selling product, so there was a supply disruption. But our problem is the demand side, not today, from long years. How the investment will come? For example, one want to establish a scooter factory. If nobody will purchase, will he manufacture scooter? How one will purchase unless he has money? Everything is interlinked. Unless he has purchasing power. That is demand compression. Investment depends not only profit. Investment depends upon people's purchasing power, people's money. Even your management college, you want to recruit, you want to bring more students. If students have no money, how can they do? That is the most important thing. So that is demand side. Demand leads to purchasing power of people. Income leads to the purchasing power of people. Purchasing power of people leads to demand. Demand leads to investment. Investment leads to growth. That is demand side. Supply disruption was due to lack of movement and all these problems. But government budget says that we have a problem of supply side constraint. Even economic survey says the problem is the supply side constraint. Supply side problem, but more problem is the demand side. And it is we must know that economy was slowing down. Economy was crumbling not after pandemic. Economy was crumbling before the pandemic due to GST and demonetization. Once upon a growth in 2016-17, economic growth was 8.2%. In 2019 and 20, it was 4% and revised to 3%. That means from 8 to 2%, economy slowed down, growth declined, crumbled from 8.2% to 3.7%. Then pandemic aggravated, so economic was contraction of 7.3%, which is now called 6.6%. We have unemployment rate was 45 years high of 6.7% 2017-18. Consumer spending was a 4-decade low before pandemic. If unemployment will be high, there will be no employment. Who will read here? Everybody aspires job. I am not saying that everybody will get job. What is job is needed both organized and unorganized sector. Because the linking creation of job also linking with the growth of your institution. Remember, job is squeezed. So pandemic exposed how our economic system is unequal, how is it vulnerable, and India is one of the countries most affected in pandemic. That is different thing. Now, as far as the expenditure I was telling, so budget does not make a proper diagnosis of the problem, so does not address make solution. Next important thing is ignorance bliss. Ignorance bliss means not acknowledging problems. Your health have a problem, you will know, no, I don't have any problem. Your economy has poverty, hunger, starvation, unemployment, you will tell, or price rise, you will tell, no problem. That is known as ignorance bills, not acknowledging problems. Budget never discusses about the problem of poverty, hunger, starvation, inequality, all those things. That's the important thing. How much people are languishing under poverty and starvation? The inequality is rampant. In corona pandemic, our system is so regressive, repressive and exploitative and pro-rich and pro-corporate. During pandemic, from March 2020 to November 21, the wealth of a billionaire increased from 23 lakh crores plus something to 53 lakh crores. 1% of Indians rich enjoy the 33% of national wealth and 21.7% of national income. In the same time, 4.6 crore people have been dragged below the poverty line. Dragged below the poverty line. 80%, 84% of family have seen the decline of their income. As a faculty of the institution, you must be seeing the inflow of students before pandemic now. Everything behind is money. They do not have income, how can they live? That's the crisis. India, highest number of hungry and poor people in India, 19.4 crore people are hungry, undernourished. And for nearly 25% of Indians are multidimensionally poor. Crores of people are committing suicide due to lack of job, due to indebtedness. So this is the crisis today.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Please correct your sentence. Crores of people have died due to unemployment, committed suicide. That is not in any paper or any news. Please.
No, exactly.
Crores of people have committed suicide.
Right.
I underline that. Please.
It is not yet mentioned in any media papers.
Yes.
So it was not specific.
Yes.
But as per
Crores of
the
people.
deliberation that is telling, so many people are just committing the suicide.
People are committing suicide, not crores of people.
My purpose is that not exactly crores of people. Still, it is around 9,000 or 15,000 have committed suicide.
Yes, sir. That's true. That's true. That is there in the paper and news.
Okay. Let me speak. Let me see. You can ask the question.
No, sir. I am not asking questions.
You wait for
Please
this.
excuse me for that.
But you must understand. People have not committed suicide. That is correct. But crores of people are undergoing the excruciating experience of unemployment.
So that is true.
That may not be physically dead, but that is death.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Again, I will repeat. I am not refuting anything that has been told by you except that particular word.
Okay. No. I agree with your point. But that is the fact is that what I want to portray. I am not using pen and paper or a slide, using statistics. Nobody can speak on statistics without using pen and paper. You might have listened so many speakers, so many professors. I boast of this. So when I am speaking, it is not presumed exact figure. What I want to portray the picture. That was my point.
Sir,
So
my only humble submission was these young minds should not carry a wrong idea in their mind.
Okay. No. The problem is that unemployment problem is massive. What is the percentage of unemployment? In December, it is around 7.6%. In India, still the employment level was what was in pre-pandemic level. India has not reached that stage. One important thing, India has not reached stage the employment level. Employment means not only organized, unorganized sector. Not reached that stage of pre-pandemic level. If you see the global average, of employment, India is still falls short of 18 to 20 crores employment. Remember, 18 to 20 crores employment. Youth employment, educated youth employment rate is highest in India. That is affecting every institution.
That has been also achieved in this after this pandemic.
Pandemic.
During the pandemic.
That must be understood.
Yeah.
But budget does not speak a single word about the employment. But they tell that employment is not the responsibility of the government.
Only the employer is set position that is public sector, not in private sector.
Even public sector today is also facing problems.
Discouraging that.
That is another aspect. This is one aspect. Next aspect is inflation. Inflation rate, wholesale price index inflation rate was 14% in around near November or December. That is the record high. Consumer price inflation is revolving around 6%. Economic survey that this is imported inflation. If everything is act of God, everything is important, then why is there is a ruling class? What is their responsibility? They are here to control, they have to manage, they have to distribute resources. You cannot shift the blame by your predecessors or blaming some of the international factors. That must be you, because you are elected to that do it. Adjust a problem. Okay, that may be problem, you cannot solve all the problems. But you can admit all the problems. Difference is that it is not that I will make made finance minister, I will solve all the problems. No, nobody can solve the problems. But what is your policy? Your policy is to solve the problem or policy is to popularize. You will speak Achadin, you will speak long term, Amrutkal, today is Amrutkal. Today is Amrutkal. Why you speak? When you are unable to solve the problems of the society, masses, you do not have right to speak, use such words. You have to address the vulnerable section of the society. That must be. What is I was telling? Those are problems. Most important problems is education and health. Once Amartya Sen has told, India is limping backward because due to resources, poor resources allocation and education and health. Every year we are listening that GDP in educational expenditure as percentage of GDP should increase 6%. Your Kothari Commission, Majumdar Commission, UPA Common Minimum Program, all have told 6%. What is the educational expenditure as percentage, which is around 3%, revolving, 3 to 4%. India's health expenditure is one of the lowest in the world. India's health sector is most privatized. Most of the people spend money. In 1 year, 5.5 crore people have been dragged into poverty line because of health expenditure. That's the important thing. Our health expenditure is 1.3% of GDP, both center and state combined together, non-will center. Global average is 6%. Some countries spend 10 to 12%, 13%, 9%, 6%. You have money to give concession to the richer section of society. You have time to reduce the corporate tax, but you don't have money to spend on the health education. When you enter a private corporate hospital, you minimum have to 1 lakh rupees. Isn't it?
Yeah.
That is the killing the purchasing power of the people. Your money is diverted. Farmers are committing suicide not only because of distress sale or rise of input, Major reason is health and wealth, health, education and children's marriage. Their resources are diverted that purpose. That is the question that must be addressed. That is what is known as distributive justice. Distributive justice means reallocation of resources from richer to vulnerable sections of society. So budget fails to address the distributive justice. Budget fails to address the current problems. We must know it. The most important thing is budget talks of a long term, isn't it? If you tell your students you will get after the job after 14 years, then she has to wait for 14 years. Then your burden is over. Budget is presented to address the problem of that year, having a vision for the long term. Never budget in any country, in any Indian history is presented ignoring the present crisis, talking of the future. You do not know what is going to happen tomorrow. You cannot tell you will survive tomorrow. Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. In the long run, everybody is dead. You dwell Amrutakal, you make plan 50 years. But what is going to happen? Will you survive? Budget has increased capital expenditure 35%. Isn't it? 35% in capital expenditure. What is the cost overrun of infrastructure project? Because when you start a project, if you do not complete in the time, then the expenditure increases. So cost overrun of infrastructure project is around 4.38 lakh crores. Capital expenditure is not going to create road in town or cities or village. Major is going to national highway, railway.